What's going on, everybody? My name is Brandon Dennis. I'm a hacker turned entrepreneur, and in this video I'm going to show you guys how to do niche selection to find a $10,000 a month product just like I did. So niche selection seems to be the hardest part for a lot of people. Some people can take 20 minutes, some people can take 3 months. So what I'm going to try to do here is break it down to show you guys how I do niche selection in 2019. That still works for dropshipping as well as any other type of selling platform that you or business model you want to try to go with. So we can break these down into 3 types of stages, right? So first stage is recon, second stage is validation, and third is confirmation. Now, the recon stage, this is when you're browsing products or whether you're just out and about and you see something. And the goal here is if you're looking for a product, keep your mind open. It's not always about what's on the internet, what's on Aliexpress, what's on Ecom Hunt, whatever else platform you're going to be using, right? Always keep an eye out what's at work. What are you guys using at work? What are family members posting? What are you seeing on random advertisements, maybe in the background? Always keep an eye out on things. So this recon stage is when you initially see a product. These are the questions you should be asking yourself that you don't necessarily have to do a bunch of research on, but just kind of how you feel about it initially, right? So the first one here is, what does it catch your attention? So if you saw this kind of scrolling through Facebook, or if you were walking by it, does it catch your attention immediately? Or is it kind of something that if you weren't specifically looking at it, might not have even bothered to go look at it? So the way I approach this is if you stop and look at it and you're like, oh, that's interesting, that's enough to catch your attention. Just enough to get your brain to stop functioning on what it was currently doing, but to look at something else. So make sure something catches your attention. Is there brand loyalty? So for example, if you think of cell phone, most cases you're thinking iPhone, Google for Android, Samsung. Make sure the product that you're looking at doesn't already have a massive branded following behind it. It's going to be very difficult to try to sell something when that's the case. If you can avoid that at all costs, that's be best. No obvious branding on the product itself. Now, in some instances, having the branding there is good, while others not so much. So especially if you're trying to rebrand the product yourself into its own single product store or anything like that, you're going to run yourself into a problem where people are getting something with a specific website, your website's name, but another name on the product. Normally it's not too big of an issue, but when it comes to like branding things, you don't even have to have that secondary conversation with people. It's just something that kind of is right there. Does it solve a problem? And that's going to be the biggest thing, and it's got the biggest area of opportunities for growth. Does your product or the product solve some sort of problem in some way? Now, what I don't want you to do is think about something until you make what the problem is. So if you can see an obvious problem that this would solve, that's what you're looking for. Don't try to force a problem out of nowhere, because chances are you and only a few other people have forced out that problem. So keep that in mind. If you have that problem, would you actually use it? So if you're not willing to use it yourself, what makes you think a whole bunch of other people are willing to pay for it, right? Do you want to use it? Would you use it? Would your family use it? Would they want to use it? It's always good to kind of double check with your family, close friends, just even yourself, and don't try to force yourself to say, yeah, I would use it, even though in reality, if you saw it at a store, you probably wouldn't pick it up. Look for products that can handle repeat customers. So if you have something like beauty pads that you only use them for so long and then they're not usable anymore, that's a repeat customer product. Or something that degrades over time that has a lifetime expectancy, that's a repeat customer. Somebody that would buy for somebody else is a repeat customer. So the more repeat customer options you have, the more revenue you're going to bring in over time on average for your customer's lifetime average, right? How much an average customer spends with you over its lifetime, higher that is going to be possible with the returning customers, right? Does it have variance? Now, this is a tough topic because you can go from having a few variants to hundreds or even just no variants, right? The more variants you add, the more returns you tend to have, and the more customer support you're going to need to provide. So if you can find something that fits a lot of these categories but doesn't have any weird variants to it, it is a single product on its own, then you're good, right? Because there's a lot of times where people come up and be like, oh, I got the wrong color, and it's already too late, everything's been shipped. Now they have to handle returns, and you don't want to have to deal with returns as much. You just want to kind of get things out. It's exactly as they expected it. The sale price of the product. Now, this can kind of handle whether you want a high ticket product or a low ticket product. Everybody has their thing, and depending on which one you go with, you're going to have pros and cons. Like high ticket products tend to have more profit margins, tend to give you a little bit more wiggle room, but you tend to have fewer sales because of it. Now, when you have a lower ticket product, you tend to have higher sale volumes, but you're also going to have to deal with more customer support because you might sell 10 of your bigger products for $1,000, while you might have to spend 100 of them or sell 100 of them for the smaller product. You're going to have far more options or possibility for customer issues on 100 versus 10. So keep that in mind. While it is harder to sell, sometimes it's worth the extra cost there. Does your product need white glove service? Would it need white glove service? So if you bought this product and it just landed in your house, would you be able to use it? Like, for example, if you had a whole coffee making setup, right, with espresso makers and a bunch of stuff like that where you spent $15,000 on it, you're expecting someone to come in, kind of show you how it works, how to set it up. You're not supposed to just get it in a box and just good luck to you. So keep that in mind. Does the product need a white glove service? Can you niche down from that product? So is that product part of woodworking that you can kind of go from let's say a woodworking tool to possibly a specific type of tool for building boxes specifically, right? Just as an example, can you niche down further? That gives you more options once you've kind of vetted this product in itself, how you want to push yourself down to kind of differentiate yourself a little bit more against everybody else. So this is just not a whole complete list here, but this is stage one. When you look at something, check these options. And of course, some of these are not cut and dry, such as the sales price or the variance, but if it catches your attention, it doesn't have brand loyalty right away. Obvious branding is up to you on that point, but does it solve a problem is guaranteed you need that. Would you even bother to use it? Does it have a high possibility for customer returns or repeat customers? And does it need white glove service? If those things are all what you expect them to be, then you're good to move on to the next stage. So on stage 2, we're going to be looking at validation. So you're going to want to brainstorm keywords, right? For example, if you're doing secure backpacks, if you have like, for example, we've done a whole video on how I built the store LockyPack.com from 0 to over 36,000 in sales in just 3 months. And there's another video for that on the channel. So feel free to subscribe and take a look at that. But you need to brainstorm keywords about the product itself. So keep that in mind. Now that could take a little bit of time. Google planning, keyword planner is also a good option. Another validation is shipping costs. How much does it cost to ship? You can do this through Aliexpress is probably a good option if you're looking at drop shipping for ePacket, as well as the average shipping cost, because the heavier the product is, the more it's going to cost to ship, and there's no way around that. Now, the product quality is very important. If you're looking at a bunch of reviews and you just see, horrible quality, no matter how good the product might be, if the product is horrible and it just falls apart, nobody's going to want to buy it. They're going to end up buying it and then end up sending it back. And then you're going to get bad negative reviews on Facebook and a bunch of other things that can end up closing your entire business, right? So customer support is very important. And if you have a good quality product right away, you eat up a lot of that problem immediately. The other half that I see people running into, and I've ran into it myself, is reliable suppliers. Now, if you look at one single product on Aliexpress, for example, there's a lot of options for people selling the same thing as you that they could be your supplier, right? You need to make sure you vet the supplier to make sure that there's good reviews and everything looks good ahead of time so that you know the supplier is reliable and not going to just stiff you out on, oh, we didn't ship it on time or it was shipped to the wrong address, and that happens so consistently it ends up causing a problem for you. So keep that in mind. That's very important. Just because they're cheaper does not necessarily mean they're the best. So keep that in mind. Keyword trends. So as you do in your brainstorming, you've got your keywords. You're going to take a look at the Google Trends. And by the way, we're going to hit up a bunch of these things just after the slideshow here. And we're going to see what the trends look like. Now, sometimes depending on the product, if you're looking for a product that is more upward trending, then keyword trends is going to be nice and easy for you. But sometimes the product hasn't started its trend yet, which might be a good spot to get on it. So we'll go ahead and take a look at that. And then Aliexpress sales. So if you're hitting a product that you know is already doing well from somebody else or another competitor, looking at the sales can kind of confirm for you whether or not people are actually buying it, right? So this is the stage 2 for validation. Now for stage 3, for the confirmation, you're going to want to get 5 to 10 products that matched stage 1 and 2 and got all the way to stage 3. You can match this in the 70-30 rule, right? So if you can hit 70% of what you're looking for, you're golden, right? You're not going to find very often a product that hits 100% of what you're looking for. The next step after this is to like build a general store or a single product store and actually give them a test run. Single product tends to work best, single product stores, just for the branding capability. And we will have other videos on this topic specifically on how to build the store and how to do the testing. While this type of testing does take a little bit more time, it gives you the best results possible. So we're going to take a look at how to actually do this niche selection in practice. So now we're going to take a look at the product that made me over the $36,000 in 3 months and how I kind of found it, right? So we're going to take a look at the product before we get to how it was found, right? So we can tell the product here, when we initially see this, yeah, it looks like a book bag, but what's interesting is at the top, there's a 3-digit secure system. It also allows for USB connectivity, which can keep things charged on the go, hidden compartments. And for me being a hacker by trade, the security aspect of this kind of caught my attention, right? So it's caught my attention. It looks like it solves a problem, right? But what we talked about before was one of the biggest things was the quality, right? So if we look down at some of these reviews, we can see there's a lot of good 5-star reviews, 4-star reviews, 5-star reviews. And it just goes on, right? Obviously, it's not perfect. There's some flaws with it occasionally, but in most of the cases, we see 4 or 5 stars. So we're hitting the quality aspect on point. Now, there are variations of this. There's different colors. But with the amount of colors, there's only 5 variations, so it's really not terrible. And it's quick and easy to kind of slip these things out. But what's important here is that this particular vendor, where is the vendor on this? This is Osukos, I believe. So, but when we took a look at the reviews, it kind of gives you an idea of the vendor quality as well, right? So how we looked at the supplier, so we can see here, top brands Ozuko. We can see here that there is a 99% positive feedback, so that's good. Well over 10,000 followers. And since the quality of the product is good, chances are there's not a lot of people complaining about the shipping times, which is important as well. So kind of, there's not like a full vendor review on AliExpress of these, so you kind of have to piece some stuff together. So there's not a lot of complaints about the amount of time it takes to get there or the quality. That kind of covers a lot of bases. Top feedback is also good as well. Sometimes just messaging them, just a random, hey, how is shipping? And you'll get an immediate automated response, which gives you a few links that you can kind of look at as well. So this is what the product was, right? So now we're going to go into how I actually found it. And I found this product actually on the first page of Ecom Hunt the first time I ever used it. So there is a link in the description if you want to go ahead and sign up for it. The affiliate link is down below there. It works quite well. I use this for stuff outside of dropshipping niche selection as well. So if I'm just looking for a product in general, it works really, really well. So you can see here, it orders things based on how it was posted and when Ecom Hunt kind of gathered all the information together. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to throw up the actual backpack as I found it, right? So when you click on Show Me the Money, it provides you with a lot of information, right? It provides you the average product cost, which is roughly accurate. It's a little lower than what it actually was through an agent, but the selling price is kind of up in the air. Since it's a backpack, it's not uncommon for people to spend, $70, $80, $90 on a backpack, right? So I actually increased this price up to $65 when I was selling it. And I actually had it much higher and it was still selling. I just brought it back down to kind of be within the range of some competition. But the profit margin you can see is quite well. So it gives you a nice kind of overview on what it is, grab some screenshots. Also a sell with overload button kind of built in right away, which is really, really nice. As well as it kind of gives you an idea of the amount of orders on AliExpress. So we've got 1,300 here. I know that's actually a little low because I sold at least 600 or 700 since this point. But you can see your common CPA and your net profit, the amount of reviews, the amount of votes. But what's interesting here is when you click on AliExpress, normally what happens is this will take you to the page itself. Oh, perfect. It did it. It gave me a 404 last time when I clicked on it earlier today. But you can see here it brings us right to the Osuko, which is also always good to have the manufacturer that makes the thing is what you're selling, is what you're buying it from, right? We can also take a look at other stores that are selling this. I'm not going to go there to give away their store. Other Facebook ads, so you can kind of see what they're looking at. So overall, really good platform. It even shows you kind of what sort of targeting you can use for Facebook ads. There are much better targeting than just this, but this is a pretty good starting point if you guys want to look at it. So I highly recommend Ecom Hunt for a lot of things, even when you're just browsing. It's pretty nifty. So this is actually how I found the product itself, was from Ecom Hunt. So what I want to show you guys past this point is Google Trends, right? So you've done your little bit of brainstorming. So for secure book bags, we'll type in, secure backpack. And we'll go ahead and see what pops up here, right? So we can see over time we're getting, it's pretty average. People are consistently doing searches. Now keep in mind, this is not sales, this is searches. How many times are people searching this per day, per week, per month, per year, right? So if we keep going here, we can see April, we're getting a little bit there. So it's kind of evening itself out. And then at the end of June, it started to creep up and up and up all the way into August. And then at the end of August, early September, it started to creep back to normal again. This is due to the fact that I started the store right around June and everything spiked up. So the searches started skyrocketing, and then I started closing the store down to work on a few other ventures that I wanted to do, as well as start this YouTube channel for a few other reasons, right? And then I know somebody else has picked this back up because I've seen it pop up in Facebook ads before, so you can see it's starting to average itself back out. So you're going to want to test this a lot in different keywords, right? So anti-theft backpack, right? So we can see here, similar thing. It's kind of evening itself out, coming up just a little bit, and then all of a sudden in June, and then in July, it starts to creep up and up and up, and then at the end of August, it starts to trail back down, and then at the beginning of mid to end of September, it started to spike back up because somebody brought up a new store, and then it started to drop again. So you can really tell when things are kind of going on. So if you can see consistent searches for things, it tends to be a pretty good idea that people are looking for it, right? If this is completely dead, chances are people aren't even searching for it, or you have the wrong keyword. So not very often do you find a keyword or a broader keyword that kind of has nothing. But keep in mind, the more specific you go on keywords, the more accurate it's going to be. But also just keep in the back of your mind that if you're starting to search on keywords that aren't something somebody's going to think of right away or with even a few minutes, like you might have been brainstorming it for 2 hours to find a keyword, but is somebody going to actually search by that is the important side here. So in my case, it was a secure type book bag. So secure backpack, secure book bag, anti-theft backpack, smart backpack is another one. So you can see here, smart backpack, if I spell it right. Right. So smart backpack is kind of sitting pretty average, about 50 to 80 searches on average, which is still just as good. And you can see the spike here and then the drops in the end of September. So you can see how these things kind of in play, and you can kind of get a good idea of when somebody kind of brought something up and tested, and then when something got brought back down. So always just do your due diligence here and make sure everything looks good. Now the other half here is we're going to copy the link itself for the product, and then we're going to go to our Aliexpress, My Aliexpress. And if you don't already have this drop shipping center option at the bottom, there will be a link below the video in the description that'll take you directly to it and unlock the page for you. So again, My Aliexpress brings you here, and then you're clicking drop shipping center. So you're going to go to product analysis and pop in the URL. So we can see here that this doesn't go back nearly as far, which is kind of unfortunate, but at the same time, it gives you a good idea of the last month and a half. So you can see we're averaging between 60 to 40-ish orders. And we can see we got a spike here, and then it's starting to back down. So it looks like there's pretty consistent orders. It's not something that's just spiking up at short periods of time and then spiking back down. This variation here is only 20 orders, so it's really not terrible. So try to identify whether or not you're seeing a trend here. So if it's consistently flipping up and down, but it has good reviews, it's probably all right. But at the same time here, you can see things are starting to spike up and then slowly take back down, which might be an indication that somebody tried to open a store and decided it wasn't kind of working and then kind of dipped back down. But keep in mind, you need to broaden your mind a little bit when you look at products, because depending on when you do your product research and when you actually set up to sell the product can change, right? Right now, we're in October of 2019, right? So September-ish to October tends to be when school starts to go on, right? Everybody goes back to school. So backpacks are in big supply, in big demand at the same time. So it's not uncommon to see things really fluctuate for this type of product over the last few days or after the last month or so. But once you kind of creep out of that initial start of the school year, things start to even back out. So keep that in mind. Is your product it might not be considered seasonal, like this is not considered a seasonal product, but it has a part of the year where things can go very weird very quickly. You could have negative sales very, very fast with a whole bunch of returns because people are seeing other backpacks in different places, or it can really skyrocket. Entirely depends on how you're doing marketing wise and everything else. So keep that in mind. So this is kind of how I've done product research. I'll leave a bunch of notes in the description or a link to them as well. Feel free to comment below if you guys have any questions on different types of things you guys want to learn, or if there's different ways you kind of go about this. But this is the niche selection on how I built that niche selection for my $10,000 a month product that I personally have done myself. So in future videos, keep a lookout for it. We're going to be going over like how to build the store, how to automate it, how to handle Facebook ads, all the fun stuff. So this will be a full start to finish course for everybody. So don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the like button. Have a great day.